Hey, welcome. In this section, users are going to be able to add products to their cart. But in this lecture, what we want to do is we want to create the fields we want to have in the cart. To do this, in order to make this cleaner, within this buyers folder, we can create a new folder and we can call this models. Models and now, I think we already have that before. I'm just going to collapse this and open this. Then I'm going to collapse this provider, collapse this, collapse this, and click on this. Okay, I think we have this models already. So I'm just going to delete that of the buyer's models. Okay, this should be it over here. Just going to get rid of this. And I think we have a models directory within the lib already. Okay, this is the wire. Now within this models directory, we can create a new file. Remember, we also do have another models, but that models is for the vendor. That is the vendor model. So we're going to take this model from the lib directory to be for the customers, right? Okay. So within this model folder, we can create a new file and we can call this file at attributes attributes, then the section is the dot file. Okay, and now the first step is to create a class. Basically, what we want to do is we want to create the fields we want to be in the cart. So we can say class and we can call this cart, maybe ATTR for short. And then we have to say with change change notifier. Remember what this does? Change notifier. Hopefully I get an auto prediction for this. Great. And now we have to specify, just gonna redo this, change noti notifier. And okay, automatically got it imported. And now the first field we want is gonna be the product name, right? So, and it's gonna be a test, so we can say string pro dot name. And the other field we need is going to be the product ID. We need the product ID of the product ID. And also we need the image of the product, right? Because also we're going to be able to display the product name, the product image in the cart screen. And this is going to be a type of list of image URL, URL. And also we need the quantity of the product, that is how many of that product the user wants to purchase. So it's going to be a type of int and quantity, quantity, and we need the price of the product, of course. So this is going to be double. Remember, double is basically something that has a decimal point, such as 0.999.99 and so on. And also we need the vendor ID, that is the user who is selling that product, or sorry, the vendor who is selling the product. So we can say vendor ID. And also we need the size of the product. So this is going to be string. Remember, we created a variable to store the selected size. So we can call this size or product size. Great. Now this is basically all we have to do, and we have to then pass this on to the constructor. Remember I said we basically use the constructor to pass in data from one screen to another. So what we can do is we can pass all these fields we just created to the constructor, and also we can make it required. So whenever we call this class called cat attribute, we then have to pass in all the values to all this variable we just created. To do this, okay, we do not have access to that. What we can just say, sorry, I'm just gonna adjust my mic. Okay, what we can say string finer, 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 uh, finer. What am I doing? This should be finer string, finer string, and get rid of this finer we have over here. Get rid of this finer, finer, get rid of this finer, and get rid of this finer and finer and finer. And now we can easily align this, and you're going to see create constructor for finer fields. Great. Now we have successfully passed this on to our constructor. And what we can do, we can make it required. Currently, whenever we call this cat attribute, really we do not need to pass in all this value at this stage. So what we can do is we can make all these fields required. So whenever we call this cat attributes, we then have to pass in the values to all this variable. So to make this required, first of all, we have to wrap this with a curly braces and over here. Okay. And now we can say required this dot product name required this dot product ID required this dot required quantity required this required this and required this required. Okay, great. Whenever we call this class called cat attributes, we then need to pass in all these values, all the value to all this variable by force. So this is what we did in this lecture. What we simply did was to create all the fields we want to add along with the cat. So hopefully you understand all this. Then in the next lecture, we are going to continue from here.